Hey guys, good evening and welcome back again to my YouTube channel. My name is KAMSY. If today is your first time seeing my face, you're welcome to my YouTube channel. For my returning subscribers, thank you all for your love and support. I appreciate it all. If today is your first time seeing my face, please don't make it your last. Just click on the red button that says subscribe and turn on your post notification bell so you'll be notified each time I post a video. Thank you. And let me say Happy New Year to you all. Yes, this is my first time seeing you all for the year. Happy New Year and thank God for life. By God's grace, I believe that 2023 will be a better year for us all in Jesus' name. Can somebody say amen? So guys, today happens to be my 5 years wedding anniversary. Hey! 5 years I've been putting on this ring. 5 years I've lived in a man's house. 5 years of getting to know what marriage is all about. All thanks to God, I'm grateful. And today I said to share with you all the things I've learned within these few years in marriage. So get yourself a popcorn, get yourself a Coca-Cola, Fanta, whatever drink you like, just get yourself. Let me just tell you guys what I've learned within my 5 years of marriage. God bless you as you listen to this. I'll start by saying that God created marriage for us to be happy, blessed, and multiply. God never tested marriage, but He created it for us. So I always tell people that marriage is a sweet, bitter institution. Like, you can't graduate from it unless you want to divorce. That is just the truth. Unless you want to divorce. But if you don't want to divorce, you can never graduate. That is one thing I know, and I always tell people. So the first thing I learned about marriage is that marriage is not friendship. Marriage is deeper than friendship. You know, in friendship you can behave anyhow, you can talk anyhow, you can even decide to leave anytime you want and everywhere will still be good. But in marriage, no matter what you do, unless you want to divorce, no matter what you do, just know that the reality sets in marriage. That is just the truth. So it's not like friendship that you can just be doing anyhow. Mind you, your friend, your husband or your wife should be your friend, but marriage is not friendship. Reality sets in more in marriage. That is the first thing I've learned about marriage. Next thing I learned about marriage is that men don't apologize the same way we women do. You know, most times you can just be like, you notice that you offended your husband, you just meet your husband and say, babe, I'm sorry, you apologize and everywhere will be good. Sometimes men, if they annoy you, as in the way they apologize, my husband, sometimes he will just come in and do as if nothing happened. Sometimes he will just go out, he will know that I'm angry, he will just go out and get me gift, and I'll be like, oh God, open your mouth and say sorry. Open your mouth and say sorry. Like, men apologizes different. Like, I never knew about it until I got married. Like, sometimes you'll be expecting him to say sorry, like, come and meet you, like normal thing now, come and meet you, say, okay, I'm sorry for this, it won't happen again, blah 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 blah. You know, all those things that we women want to hear. My sister, when I got married, I realized that it's not like that. Like, men have different way of apologizing. Sometimes my husband just go and get me gifts. Sometimes he will now come and be asking me, how are you doing? When was the last time you called your parents? Have you done? He will just be asking me random questions, like caring, instead of opening his mouth and say, I'm sorry. You know, sometimes I don't understand, but I've come to realize that that is just the way men are. They don't always say sorry. I don't know what their problem is, but I've come to realize that that's meant for you. They don't always apologize like we women. We can always just say, oh honey, I'm sorry. Oh honey, it's because, okay, I'm sorry, this and that. You can't. They don't do like that. That is just one thing I have learned. Let me not say one thing you have to bear in mind. That's one thing I've learned about marriage, that men apologizes. The next thing I've learned about marriage is that, see, you have to cook every day of your life. You know, when we are single, you can just stay and decide to, maybe sometimes you are not feeling hungry, you can just stay, or you're even hungry, you don't have the energy to cook, you can just look for a means, maybe bread, eat what you can just snack on anything. But in marriage, you have to cook every day. Like, your husband cannot come back from work and you tell your husband, because today I'm not, as in, I don't have the energy to cook, look for something to eat or fix yourself or source yourself out. No, you don't do that. In marriage, you have to think of what to cook every day. And I hate that part of thinking, always thinking of what to cook, always thinking on how to balance the food and all the rest of them. See, In marriage, you cannot just tell your husband to maybe, hey, baby, big, today you have to drink milk, or today I don't have strength. Let us, every time you want to tell him, let's go to the restaurant. No, in marriage, you have to always cook for your husband. Like, cooking is very, very important. So, this is one thing I've learned while in school. Sometimes I'll just, biscuits, milk, and all the rest of them. But in marriage, you must cook. That is just one. Even if you say you want to cook and put in the freezer, the truth is that every day you will still bring it out, prepare it for him. Yes, you must do that. That is one thing I've learned in marriage. You have to cook always for your husband. I've learned about marriage is that you see, sex. Sex is very, very important. Like, sex is very, very important in marriage. Yes, you have to satisfy each other. Like, you have to satisfy your spouse, even if you don't feel like doing it every time. It's not like every time. What I'm trying to say is that you have to satisfy your husband. Sometimes you can be in the mood, sometimes your husband in the mood. You are the wife. You have to do your wifey duty. You cannot come are you television? You have to satisfy the man always. So in marriage, I've come to realize that sex is very, 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 very important. I want to say that you can't love your spouse every day. That is just the truth. This mentality of, oh, my husband, when I get married, we always love each other, we always do everything. See, it's not true. You cannot love your husband every day. You cannot love your wife every day. There are some days that you just be like, what am I even doing with this man? And he'll be like, what am I even doing with this man? You will not even want to see him that day. There are days like that in marriage. Maybe people quarreled, or people had an argument, and maybe he's not acting the way you wanted him to act in that particular situation, and you just feel like, oh, see this man, what am I even doing with you? Or he will just be asking himself, what am I even doing with this woman? That is just, it's normal. It's normal. You can't love your wife or your husband every other day. Some days you don't feel the love, some days you feel the love. It is just normal. Okay, that is the one thing I've equally learned about. The thing I've learned about marriage is that no marriage is the same. Yes, no marriage is the same. One mistake or one problem that people have is that they always like comparing their spouse to another person. Maybe you start comparing your husband to another person, another person's husband. See, it is very, very wrong. No marriage is the same. Just like we have different personalities, the person you married is not the same person I married. The person you married have his own personalities, while my own husband have his own personality. So you don't expect us to act the same way. You don't expect your husband to act the same way another person's husband is acting, and you don't expect your wife to act the same way your friend's wife is acting. So just bear this in mind, that no marriage is the same. People are different. Whom you married is different. The temperaments are different. Just know that we are different, and because of that, no marriage is the same. The point I just listed about no marriage is the same leads to another point I want to say. Each marriage has its own trial period. Now, what you're facing in your marriage might not be exactly what I'm facing in my marriage. Yours might be that you are trusting God for money. Mine might be that I'm trusting God for a good job. Another person's problem might be that they are suffering from maybe one particular illness or whatever. Another person's problem might be that the person is trusting God for kids. So the marriage has different trials. What you are facing might not be the same thing another person is facing. If you get to meet someone that is facing the same problem you are facing, then you people can understand what is going on. But just know that each marriage, some people are facing finances, some people are facing childbearing, some people are facing job, some people are facing just different things. Just know that each marriage has its own trial and its period. Hard time doesn't last forever. Definitely know that happy days will come someday. And about what I've learned again in my marriage is that you have to be selfless. If you're a selfish person, believe me, you won't survive in marriage. In marriage, you have to be very, very selfless. In marriage, I always tell people, in as much as I tell people that this is also applicable in friendship, but it's more applicable in marriage, you have to be very, very selfless. In marriage, you don't think about myself. In marriage is where you have to think about yourself, your husband, your kids, and everybody around, so that the marriage will be the marriage will just be moving forward. So if you're a selfish person, I'm sorry to tell you that I don't think you can last in marriage, because in marriage you have to be selfless. Sometimes you do things that you don't like just to make your husband happy. Sometimes you do what you don't like just to make your wife happy. So in marriage you have to be selfless. Sometimes you just have to sacrifice for your marriage. Like, that is another point that I will be mentioning. Sometimes you have to just sacrifice. About, let me just say it together, marriage is all about sacrifices. So you don't have to be selfish, you just have to be selfless in marriage. It is very, very important. If you are selfish, believe me, it won't work. The important thing I've learned in marriage is that communication is very, very important. Communication, like, it is very, very important. I think that is one problem most people have. They don't communicate. Communication is where you call your husband or you call your wife and sit him or her down, excuse me, and explain to the person what the person is doing that you don't like. And that is very, very important. Just know that communication is key. Communication is key. If you don't, any marriage that they don't communicate, believe me, it is difficult for that marriage to work or last. So that is just the thing. Bear it in mind that communication is very, very important. You have to know that prayer is very, very important in marriage. In marriage, you have to be a prayer warrior. That is just the truth. You have to pray for your husband, you have to pray for yourself, you have to pray for your kids, you have to pray for everybody. And know that the devil doesn't like marriage. So it is only by prayer that you can win the battle every time. So a praying wife is always a winning wife, in as much as I always encourage couples to pray together. It is very, very important. When couples hold hands together and pray, God moves to do something. So prayer is very, very important. It is very, very important in marriage. The thing is that love is not enough. You cannot just say, okay, I love my spouse and that's all. Love is not enough. Like I said, you can never love your spouse every day. Just know that love is not enough. Sacrifice is important. Commitment is very, very important. Commitment. No matter what you do in marriage, if you take out everything in marriage, don't take out commitment. Commitment is very, very vital and important in marriage. So whatever thing you are doing, just know that love is not enough, but commitment is very, very important. Then the next thing I have to say, that forgiveness is very, very important. In fact, forgiveness is forever. You have to always forgive your spouse, unless you want to divorce, because every day, every time, you have to forgive. Most times your spouse can wrong you and you can get angry, is normal, but forgiveness is very, very important. So whatever thing you are doing for your marriage to last, for your marriage, even someone said that the most annoying thing will come from your husband or your wife. Sometimes it's as if it's true, because the way your husband can talk to you, the way your wife can talk to you, maybe someone else cannot talk to you in that way. It is in fact, now see, finish plenty for marriage, but you just have to be forgiving. You understand? You just have to be forgiving and forgiving and forgiving, unless you want to divorce. But if not, just know that forgiveness is very, very important. The next thing is that sometimes you can stay for hours, if not days, without speaking with each other. Yes, sometimes you can really get angry with your husband, and you will just pack. Yes, that is not communication. The only thing, if you want, the only thing that can be going on is good morning, good afternoon, your food is ready. Or even sometimes you will not even say your food is ready. You will just prepare it and keep it. The man will now see that food is ready. If he wants to eat, he will eat. If he doesn't want to eat, so just know that these things are normal. It is normal that sometimes spouses don't talk. You just be angry for each other, maybe for some hours or some days or some hours, some weeks, depending on how depending on the level of disagreement. So it's normal. I have come to realize that it's normal, because when I see people talking about it, I used to be like, how can you stay with someone you cannot talk to the person? Me personally, it affects me, because I'm this kind of person that doesn't like problems. So I cannot bear it though. Anything that happens to me, I'll go and try and make peace. That is just me. Anyone that did not make peace, know that one pay me pass. So I'll just be like, okay, maybe we'll see who go there. But just know that sometimes you can stay for hours. Some people can stay days or weeks without talking to your husband. In as much as it's difficult staying with someone for weeks without talking to days itself, no. But just know that it's normal. It's normal, okay? Then the next thing is that quarreling is normal. Maybe you can say, sometimes you feel like we cannot quarrel. Is a lie. Well, no matter how you love the person, people must always quarrel. Not always, sorry, people can sometimes Quarreling is normal. For me, I always tell people this: it's normal to quarrel. Maybe in the process of quarreling, that is when you get to know more about your husband. That is when you get to know more about your wife. Then another thing is that once you get married, just know that your responsibilities has increased. Yes, you just have to be caring for your mother, your mother-in-law, your father, your father-in-law, your husband, your siblings-in-law. Not like caring for them that you're providing everything, but you always have to check on them. You always have to call them. Whatever thing you are doing, you try to balance the equation, because now you now have two families. No longer you and your families, now like you and your families, because it's now two families. And another thing is that once you get married, your cooking skill must increase. Yes, because by the time you try cooking different meals for your husband, the more you cook, the more you learn. You know, the more you do something, is more you perfect on it. So while in marriage, definitely your cooking skill will increase. I think that will be the last part of this. I wouldn't want this video to be long. Just like someone said, Kamsi, you say it shouldn't be long, and it's getting to 30 minutes, I'll be 20 minutes. So I wouldn't want this video to be long. This will be the last point I will make, and I'll see you all in my next video. Share with me in the comment section your own experience in marriage, and I would like to reply. I like reading comments. Just share your own experience or what you've learned in marriage, and I'll see you all in my next video. Thank you for watching. Remember, if you've not subscribed, please subscribe and join my family. Thank you, and God bless you all.